So thank you, Vishwas. Thank you very much for inviting me to speak at this webinar. And I'm very glad that you have actually, decided to cover this space of edutech or edtech, whatever you call it, because the focus has always been on fintech and now with the pandemic, health tech. But nobody looked at education, and probably the youngsters don't think that startups in this field will really make any money or any excitement. But then today, I think we're going to take all these young people through the journey of higher education and, of course, a little bit of school education. And then they will realize that there are so many opportunities. And I presume that the largest audience would be of people who want to actually incubate companies in this space. And they will find it really, really exciting. So I won't take much time. I'm just going to take them through the journey of and the challenges and opportunities that we encounter when we deliver education to students, whether it's curriculum, whether it's teaching, learning, instruction, assessments and evaluation, and of course, skill-based training. So next, Madhu. Yeah. So what is the real purpose of education? And I personally believe that education is not just about imparting skills to get a job, but really there is a larger context to education. And it actually means that you broaden minds of these young men and women so that they become sensitive to the needs of society. And that is really the larger purpose of education. And at least universities and colleges, which are in plenty in India. In fact, we are the second largest higher education system in the world. We have more than 993 universities and more than 51,000 colleges, which means that there is a need of using technology, and there is a need of so many things that are happening in this space. So it is like a very, very large industry, if you call it in the corporate parlance. And I think we need to look at the different functions. And today I'm glad that you're covering almost all the functions of this higher education space. Next. So what happened really with the pandemic on the education space? So I think the first case of this pandemic was, in fact, it was declared as a pandemic in January, and the first COVID-19 case was detected on, I think, 29th of January, I think, in India. But we took March to actually declare, saying that now there are a large number of cases, and we need to put colleges and universities, closed, and even all other organizations closed. So the closure was declared in March of 2020. And for us, it was like a shock, it came as a sudden change, because we were, there were thousands of students on college campuses, university campuses. Many of our campuses and several other universities were residential campuses. And suddenly when it came like a whip, we didn't know what to do. We had to just suspend classes. We had to ensure the safety of students, ensure their safety right till they reach their homes. It was typically examination period, so we had to wonder what we would do with examinations, especially for the last year students who were passing out. At least those who were going to be with us, we could think of evaluating them on their annual assignments that they get. But what happens to the last year students who would have otherwise passed out of our universities? Classrooms suddenly became defunct. We didn't know what to do with teachers. How would they teach? And actually chalk and talk became almost an impossibility. So it was really, really a sudden shock to our sector, and I'm sure it was to many other sectors as well. And then I think March end, there was a lockdown. So while we tried to mitigate this whole crisis in our own way, where teachers switched on to online teaching for those classes that were remaining in the end of March and April, early April, assignments and examinations were done online. But we were honestly not happy, because it was more of a reactive response of the university and its teachers, and of course the students, to this pandemic. But when actually lockdown happened, almost up to, I think, if I'm not mistaken, 26th of May is when we really opened our colleges, at least for the admin staff and the teachers to come in. For those 2 months, we really, those 2 months really made a difference to us. And what we did was intensive capacity building of our teachers, as well as admin and academic staff. So we got this 2 months of period, like a vacation period for us, where we trained our staff by senior teachers and people who knew, the use of technology. Next. So as I said, it was a reactive response of teachers. So there was no other option but to really accept this change. And during this time, as I said, we learned and we made our teachers learn a lot of new technology skills. They learned to use online learning management systems. Some of them were using it, but not all teachers, certainly, definitely not school teachers. They also learned to speak in front of the camera. I mean, all of us were so camera shy. Like, imagine a classroom without anybody in front of you. Teachers were always used to having at least 60 to about 100 students in front, looking at the reaction of students while the teacher taught. But here you are on in front of something which is so blank. Like right now, I don't know the reaction of the audience. And likewise, it was so difficult for our teachers to face the camera. So we actually made them learn how to face this camera. We made them learn how to record their sessions. And basically, we made them learn the new normal. And we told them that probably this is the way it's going to go for at least 1 year. We never ever thought it would be 2 years, but now I think I don't know how many years they will want, be teaching in the same fashion as they, began in the March of 2020. So what we did was, it wasn't just teachers, but even students. So what we did was, fortunately, it was the Symbiosis Golden Jubilee year also. And therefore, we said, let's begin with webinars, because that was the easiest way to do. And, to encourage teachers and, more importantly, encourage students to get hooked up to the screen, we started off with the Golden Jubilee lecture series. And we invited all these stalwarts, right from Dr. Mashelkar to, Javed Akhtar to even Amitabh Bachchan and several others, who came and delivered lectures. And students then got hooked up to this small screen, and they started listening intensely to whatever came in front of the screen. And therefore we thought that the best way to begin was with webinars. Then, of course, as I said, we taught during the lockdown period, and even now we're teaching all the hard skills and even the soft skills that are associated with online teaching. It's so important that when you're teaching online, sometimes you just believe that it's only you in front of the camera. You need to look at what your background is. You need to look at the softer versions of whether someone is passing, someone else is speaking when you're teaching from, it's like work from home now, so maybe your kids are crying. So all these soft skills is something that we made people aware of, or our teachers aware of. And of course the hard skills of online teaching. Then, of course, it was content preparation, the patience, etc. Because content that you teach in a classroom, in a face-to-face classroom, is totally different from the way you teach on an online screen or an online, delivery. So it was hard for us to train these teachers, but yes, they did get trained. We have our own studios, so it was easy for us to even record some of these lectures, so as to support the online teaching, the synchronous online teaching with asynchronous teaching. So Symbiosis provided an ecosystem for, our own teachers. And there's a lot of learning for startups, because, everything that I'm speaking about is, a new idea that you can actually start beginning to think of and create a product for. Then, of course, we got our teachers certified with Microsoft Teams, and then beautifully they started using Google Classrooms, Microsoft Teams, Moodle for their LMS. They also started using, these technologies for creating quizzes, then, of course, presentations, and, all these various, what do you say there, like the Vizia, the video, and, YouTube streaming, OpenShot for editing. So we actually started training teachers into using videos during their lectures also. So it was not really easy. But now our teachers have become absolutely well versed. And I think to engage students, you need to use a lot of innovation. And it's not just about, sitting in front of the screen and delivering a lecture like I'm doing, but there is a lot of, innovations that are done so as to keep the students engaged. And I know for, my nephew studies medicine, and Vishwas, your daughter also studies medicine, so you know what I'm talking about. And every time he's with me, he's listening to a class, and a class is just a PPT. I just wonder, how can medicine be made more interesting than just being a doctor myself, than just throwing a PPT in front of a student. I mean, what will this budding doctor really learn, unless you really make it make it more interesting, make it more engaging to these students. So, that's what I'm talking about. So students engagement was equally important. And then we started getting things like online polls. So, again, keeping students engaged during the classes, dynamic quizzes. We started using Padlet for collaborative work. Students, most of the students attend classes on mobile. So we started obviously engaging them through Kahoot. Question Pro is something that we bought, and then several other, like Zoom, WebEx, which all of us have also got used to. We made our teachers get used to, because many of us were actually used to only Zoom or only specifically, Teams. But we said, we need to get you all, comfortable with all these platforms, and therefore we train teachers into using all these platforms, and now they are well versed. Next. Then it was not just about teaching and engaging the students in a classroom, but how do you engage them with labs? And typically the engineering students, and also the school students, where laboratory work was important. And then faculty members started engaging specifically in our engineering college on online laboratories. But there are some skill-based programs where we still have a challenge, like the Symbiosis School of Culinary Arts. I mean, how do you really teach the skills of culinary skills to these young budding chefs? I mean, it's been such a big challenge. So for all of you who are in this space to ideate, please ideate on such skill-based programs where you need to create some products where even this kind of skill-based program can be taught. The Symbiosis School of Photography. I mean, it's such a big challenge to, how do you engage these students who otherwise would have been hands-on on the cameras, right in, on the university campus. So there are several other skill-based, institutions. And I also gave you an example of medicine. So how do you make these classrooms equally engaging, and what kind of tools can really, or products can be, formulated and ideated by you young students and young people, so that, we are supported with these tools. And we, as at least engineering and the school education, we've taken the labs virtually. But what happens to other skill-based programs is again a challenge to all of us. Another wonderful work that we did through the university is to collaborate with the Symbiosis School Central Directorate. So many of you know that Symbiosis also has K-12 schools, and I'm sure many universities also have under their trust schools. So what we did is we took the help of university teachers, and we made some of our university teachers, one of them, of course, is Dr. Raman, who's the Dean of the Faculty of Management. And he took a lot of efforts to train our school teachers to deliver, online education, because school teachers were the ones who did not know how to deliver education online. And I mean, I think the most challenging part was to have school kids, and specifically kindergarten kids and even the primary school children, hooked up to a screen to learn and to get themselves educated. Again, the other component and the other stakeholders in this part of education was parents. So how do you buy over, the time and the engagement of parents, because parents wouldn't want their children to be on screen for a longer time, and so on and so forth. And how do you engage with them to make it more interesting? And here is the role where university teachers actually helped our school teachers. And I'm so happy that, we published this work in a book, which is published by one of the professors of Harvard University, the Harvard Graduate School of Education. And I'm very happy that this has been an ongoing process. And with the help of the university teachers, we've tried to make the school education equally interesting and challenging. But for, again, you youngsters who are ideating in this space, this is one area, the area of school education, which has not been looked at. I mean, you have so much of support through Coursera, edX, and so on, for university or higher education, but you don't have many such platforms for school education. Of course, there are plenty who are typically online educators, like the Khan Academy and so on. But what kind of products can you develop typically for school teachers to help them engage with their kids or their students better than what they're doing today? Then, of course, the challenge was to also engage the academic and admin support staff along with our teachers, because our teachers were good at delivering education in the classroom, but how would they be supported when they're otherwise supported for timetables, for examination schedules, for student feedbacks in the university campus? Now, how do you do all this online, and how do you get your academic and admin staff support? So we had to train our academic and admin staff, in various aspects, both in hard skills and soft skills, for supporting online class management. And this was, again, a very, very important training, I would say, that we did. And again, this is one great space, for, again, new new ideas to come in and new products to be developed, because this is one area that nobody has looked at. People only look at, or products only look at, the delivery of good education in a classroom by teachers. But how do these teachers get support of the admin staff and the academic admin staff, otherwise the way they would get in in conventional universities? This is something that you should really look at, and these various aspects can be looked at individually also. So just to wind up and sum up, I would say that I hope you all are listening, because the big challenges that we have, where products can be developed. The first one is gadgets and batteries. Many of us, this is a huge challenge. For teachers, for example, or even for students, when they are actually learning on mobile phones, the battery hardly lasts. And should really mobiles be used? I'll give you one example. My driver, whenever I call him, his phone is not with him. And one day I shouted at him and I said, "Why is your phone not with you? How do I contact you?" And poor thing, he told me that, "Ma'am, my phone is with my daughter, who is studying online, because that's the only way that she can study." So can we really prepare gadgets that are not mobile phones? And can there be education with just an internet connectivity? Can some gadgets be really prepared for school kids and even for higher education students to learn beautifully well instead of using the mobile phones? I don't know. I mean, this is just a thought that I'm throwing to you. Internet connectivity. Now, this is again the biggest challenge that we have. And one of the startups that is incubated at SIBM, at our incubator, is actually tackling with this problem. So in the rural areas, and even a little bit away from Pune city, you have problems with internet connectivity. Now, can you create some gadgets? Again, I'm not a technology person, and I'm just, as a lay person, really thinking of these products. So can you really create a gadget which can build the connectivity much better than what it is today? So maybe something on that. Managing online stress. Now, this is the biggest problem today, when teachers as well as students are facing, to be on front of the screen, when it is actually sometimes boring. There is fatigue because of so much of online presence. Can we develop products, and can we develop some tools by which this stress level goes down, and the whole delivery of education becomes more engaging and more encouraging for students to get hooked up? Security and privacy are again issues that one needs to really look at. I mean, while I'm delivering a class or a webinar like this, what if something suddenly, which is not supposed to open up on my screen? What do I do with that? So how do you manage these, and can we create some products on that? And the biggest challenge today is that we face is proctoring of examinations. Like right now, we are going through examinations. We have tied up with MKCL. They do give us proctored, but there are hardly few, large companies that actually provide us with this tool. Can some of the startups really think of, even proctoring small assignments that our teachers take during the time that they're conducting classes, or examinations which are term end examinations? Can cheaper products come out, and some reliable products come out of assessing and getting these proctored examinations done for us? There are a large amount of opportunities as well. The virtual reality and online presence. When we talk about virtual reality, all the products that are available today are very, very expensive. So can someone come out with a product where, for example, I'm actually now giving a webinar. Can a virtual reality be created in such a way that I'm actually standing in front of a podium and delivering a lecture as if I would have delivered it on stage? This is possible, but not really possible to get that product for every teacher. There are 900 plus universities, as I said, and thousands of colleges in India. Hardly 20% of them have a full-fledged ERP implemented. Even institutions or universities like Symbiosis are struggling, because every ERP product that we take, we customize it so much that sometimes we believe that why can't we develop this product ourselves within our university campus? So these new startups and new companies that are coming up should certainly think of this and develop smaller versions of ERPs for specific functions, and also cheaper ones, because we keep talking to the big players, but we realize that when we talk to big players, people change, systems there change, and suddenly, we are left at lurch. So right now, where the ERP that we are going through also is, we have targeted smaller companies, some of them, companies that were started by our own students, and we are actually looking at how can we, integrate these systems into our various functionings. And I think Bharat will cover this more than what I would want to talk on. And of course, gaming of education. Gaming of education is another area that definitely you all should look into, because whether it's delivery of education, whether it's the assessments, assignments, if you get gaming into this, it will make the student happy about online education and not really get bored and fatigued in front of a screen. So try and make it, try and develop some products that can be so interesting that students really get hooked up, and they don't even realize that they are being assessed, or they don't even realize that they're actually learning in a university or in a school. And one area that you should also look at is training of teachers in technology, of both school teachers as well as higher education teachers. Right now, because we are a university, we could have our university teachers train our school teachers. But can you really develop small program or small products which are like faculty development products, or train the teachers products, where the teachers can actually self train themselves. I don't know how to put it, but really this is one space that you all can certainly get into, because every teacher wants to be technology savvy, either in her administration or now, of course, in the delivery of online education. So can a teacher self-train herself, is something that you can look at and develop a product accordingly. We ourselves have the Symbiosis Center for Entrepreneurship and Innovation. This is our technology business incubator. We've consciously located it. I don't think the picture is great, but you see a Symbi Eat down there. It's a food court at our engineering. It's actually in the center of an engineering and medical campus. And we purposely located the Center for Entrepreneurship and Innovation, which is our incubator, right in the food court campus, because we believe that ideas always generate informally. And over a cup of coffee, when medicine and engineering and biological sciences and management students actually meet over coffee, that's when ideas generate, and that's when companies and startups are formed. So this is a wonderful ecosystem that we've created. We already have 85 incubators of our own students. The areas that we cover are obviously fintech, but also health tech and edutech as well. Our focus also has been health tech more because of the hospital and the need, again, in various functions of the hospital, which Vishwas has covered in the last webinar. And I went through the video, and it's really beautiful. And so these are the areas that we cover, and our own alumni mentor our students. This is a Section 25 company, so we also hold some equity in our startups. And I'm very happy that one of the startups incubated by our own student has recently received a VC funding of 30 crores. So this has been one success story, but I'm sure there will be 85 more success stories that we can speak about. So I wish you all the good luck to all of those who are listening. And I hope that youngsters get into this edutech space, and Symbiosis Center for Entrepreneurship and Innovation will be more than happy to mentor you all. You're free to come and incubate your startups in our incubator. On behalf of Maratha Chamber, of course, we have an incubator there as well. And as a director on that board, I would also encourage that you incubate it either there or at Symbiosis. And both these organizations will provide you with the best possible mentors that can actually handhold you and take you through your journey of success. Thank you very much.